What's up? It's Matt. We are back with another restaurant expert roundup. This time we are headed out west to a city that I love, Denver, Colorado. Wish I was there skiing today. Mr. Eric Chester, what's going on?
Hey Matt, great to talk to you again. I don't think you'd want to be in Denver today skiing because it is about a 80-degree day with the sun out, and if you're talking water skiing, you're getting close. But
Okay, there we go.
We're on the back nine.
I do like a little Salmar ski too. So I guess tell the audience who Eric Chester is. We know you're from Denver, Colorado. Tell us about yourself.
I'm a former high school business teacher and coach, turned motivational speaker for teenagers. I spent 10 years in gymnasiums all across the country, 1,500 different high school presentations, a lot of colleges too, basically trying to help students figure out how to get from here to there when they didn't even know where there was. So, I started hearing from companies and organizations around the turn of the century that were saying, hey, we are struggling with our new workforce. Can you help us? So I wrote the very first book on millennials, a book that's called Employing Generation Y, but not the letter Y. Y as in, why do I have to work for you? And, I've been here for 3 days. Why can't I have your job? So I wrote this book on millennials. It kind of took off. And for the past 20 years, I've worked with great companies and organizations, learning tactics and ideas, presenting at their conventions. I've written 5 books since then. And so that's what I do. I write books, I give presentations, and mostly I'm a workforce researcher.
Cool. And you said something before we were talking about, talking today's generation. You work with the restaurant business. You've consulted with franchises. And, today, right now, is a tough time to hire people because there's a certain part of the segment of our population that's sitting on their butt right now, getting paid more to work at home than to go to work, sit at home to work. But I was talking to a client the other day, and I was looking at their ad, their now hiring ad. And the language didn't jive, in my opinion, with the 18 to 21-year-old they were going after. It was like catered to a 55-year-old. And you said something earlier. We were talking about understand the language and the what motivates that person. Can you talk about maybe, right now restaurants are struggling to find people. What would be your advice on language to understand the people you want to work for you?
Well, look at great brands and how they market. They don't typically just market to one segment of the population. They have different campaigns for different segments of the population. So, they might have one segment targeted for maybe an urban client, somebody that's living, downtown in the city, maybe somebody that's young and kind of hip and what have you. And they may have a totally different set of marketing materials, broadcast, print, whatever, that is aimed at maybe a more mature demographic, as somebody that might be out in the burbs or whatever. So you can't do a one solution fits all in your marketing. You can't do it when you're trying to market employees as well. Like you said, I saw one, it didn't gel with the young people. It was targeted for, more of a retiree. Well, great, because retirees are a great source of employment for your business. But if you want to attract the younger people, you kind of got to be where the younger people are, and you've got to kind of look at how you're marketing to them and what they want out of a job.
Yeah, and I think that's the key part there is you talked about what they want. I think a lot of times businesses aren't in touch with those different parts, what's important, because everybody has a different reason for a job. This 21-year-old's job might be to pay for that Subaru they've souped up. This 35-year-old's job might be to pay for the 3 kids that are home.
Right. And the 55-year-old might say, hey, I didn't make enough money to retire from the school district or the post office or whatever. And I've gone out and I've played some golf and basically I'm bored. I want to, I want to interact. I want to be in a different kind of environment. So I'm not saying that, any one of those classifications fits everybody in that, certainly in that specific demographic that we just outlined, but different people have different reasons. And it's incumbent upon a restaurant leader, restaurant manager, owner, operator to really know what that is, to know their people well enough that they go, you know what, I know what I'm looking for, and I know how to recruit those people that fit my brand.
Okay, now shifting the gears a little, kind of, because I think it's important for employers to know why their employees are working and how they fit into the world. But I think one thing that you said earlier that stuck out to me was, and I might have butchered this a little, but what are you doing today to prepare for tomorrow? In talking with those younger generations, I know you speak on that and topics and you have in the past. Give us some insight into that, because I think a lot of times people fail to plan where they want to be and they wonder why they never get there.
Right. Well, you're exactly right. We've done a terrible job, at least in the US and in many Western cultures, in terms of preparing young people for this thing called work. We send them off to school and we give them, reading, writing, and arithmetic and lots of standardized achievement tests to, hopefully, move them forward into that next phase, which might be college. And we never really train them on what work is all about and what that really means. And so, yeah, when I haven't done it for many years, but when I used to speak to kids, I try to help them figure out, to sit back and to really analyze this thing called a career and what it means, and, how to find a career that, kind of gels with your interests, your passions, your desires, and what is you can do. You can be very passionate about singing, but if you don't have the vocal chops to do that, you're not going to be successful. So how do you combine all that and wind up being where you really need to be so that there's meaning in your career and you're living the life that you really want to live? So that is something that we as parents, as a society, have failed to do. Hence, a lot of managers get people in the workplace that haven't been taught how to work. They don't know. They don't know the rules of the workplace. They don't know how to become successful. They don't know how to dress. They're bad when it comes to customer service. And then the manager, the owner, gets frustrated. They just want to, put their fingers around the neck of those young employees and shake them like an Etch-a-Sketch. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with them is they haven't learned how to work. And you have to take that role on. You, as a restaurant owner manager, have to realize this is clay. I've got to mold it into a pot. That's what I need to do. I can't just assume that somebody has taught them how to dress and how to, conduct themselves in a professional environment and how to be on time and all of those kinds of things that we really struggle with.
Yeah, and I think that's a key element too, is understanding that everybody comes from different environments. I come from an environment, my mom and dad were both entrepreneurs. They were both hustlers. They owned multiple businesses. They were 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Sunday people growing up, but they still made time for their family. I've got friends of mine that think, man, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. is what you do because their parents were this or that. I mean, everybody's got this different, justification of why they do what they do, but also a different understanding of what success is, what hard work is, and even how to present yourself. Because what I might think is business casual, somebody else might think is something completely different. So you might say, hey, come in here business casual for work, and they show up in flip-flops and beach shorts.
Right, because your definition and their definition is different. So clearly training has to take on a completely totally different methodology and style. When you work with people, you don't want to talk down to them and say, okay, business casual means that you can wear an open collar shirt. This is a collar. This is a shirt. You don't want to talk down to them. Yep. By the same token, you don't want to assume that they know what business casual means. There's a happy medium. Plus, we're dealing with a generation that learns best visually, most of them, because think about it. They've been on their phones. They've been, they're used to digital media and seeing a ton of different images. So show them pictures. This is how our people dress right here. And you do that in the interview, not you hire them and then say, oh, by the way, we want you to wear a captain's hat and a big bow tie, because they might go, oh, I don't want. No, you show them ahead of time in the interview. This is the way we expect people to dress. Notice how their shirt is tucked in and it's clean and it's pressed and their name tag is up to the right and it's big. And is there any issue with this? Because then, regardless of what generation we're talking about, someone would go, no, I know what that looks like. And you bet I will. Yes, I can meet that. That's what the interview process is about. And it's not just when it comes to appearance, attendance. Hey, we expect everybody to show up 10 minutes before their punch-in time. Right? Well, wait a minute. Wait, if I'm only getting paid from 1 to 5 o'clock in that shift or whatever that is, why do you expect me to show up at 12:50? Well, let me ask you a question. You think LeBron James shows up at game time? Game starts at 7 o'clock. They throw the ball up and he's ready. Or do you think he needs to be there prepping, getting? That's what we do here. Everybody who's on the clock is ready. So by the time the shift starts, they're good to go. That's why we ask people to show up 10 minutes ahead of time. So in other words, whatever your rules and your culture dictates, you need to explain that. And as I mentioned in my very first book, Employing Generation Y, WHY, they're not going to do the what unless they know the why. Yep. Why? And special bonus points if you can make the why appeal to them. Here's why we do this, and here's why it's good for you too.
Yeah, I had a restaurant owner tell me one time, was talking about training his staff, and there was this negative perception with some of his employees on what they perceived as upselling. Like the burger is this, and they can add bacon, this and that. And he showed them the why. He's like, let's go to Google. I want to show you some reviews. And people were commenting on how, oh my gosh, this burger is so much better with bacon and jalapeno and this. And he's like, the reason that person got that burger, let's imagine they got the burger normal. And you don't ask them, hey, what do you love? Your goal is to make that burger a better experience for them. If they make it a better experience, they enjoy it more. They enjoy it more. They post about it on social media. They post about it on social media. More people come in here. You have a job longer. But he was showing them the why. And he's like, a lot of people in the restaurant business had a negative perception of upselling. And in fact, he showed them how that upsell makes the burger better because it customizes it to that person's taste buds, and that makes them have a better experience.
Well, I'll tell you, my son now is 36 years of age. He works out in California in Silicon Valley. He's been very successful, but when he was a teenager, and I look back it seems like yesterday, it was 20 years ago, he worked at a major retailer, and I'm not going to tell you which one, although it begins with an S and ends with an S and has kind of an ear in the middle. Well, anyway, he was in the sporting goods department, and on Saturday mornings, they would have these all-employee store meetings. And the store manager would get up there and try to motivate the crew. And he'd always turn them out right before the store opened by saying something that he thought was motivational. And the way he turned people out is, let's leave them broke in the aisles, which meant we win when we can get all the customers' monies. Well, let me tell you something. That really set off the millennial generation and younger people. They didn't want to feel like, wait, I'm taking your money for what? It doesn't work. So like you just said, here's how you win in this equation. I worked for a movie theater chain, same exact scenario. They were trying to upsell bigger, more popcorn, bigger. And the young people weren't doing it. They are like, why aren't you upselling? Because upsell means I'm trying to take advantage. We changed the lexicon. We said, point to the better value. If this tub is $3 and you get twice as much for $5, you're saving money. Would you prefer the better value? Now you're doing the customer a favor. They win, the company wins, the employee feels like they win, bam. So yes, you've got to watch your words in your training and really understand how young people think, how the millennial generation, Gen Zs, whatever you want to call them, how different people in different segments think.
No, I love it completely. So what's the best way people can reach out to you? How can they learn from you? Do you still speak? You got any new books coming out? Can they buy them somewhere online? What's the best way people can support you?
I appreciate that. I have 3 books that I've written over the past 10 years that seem to really be resonating. I have one that's called Reviving Work Ethic, a leader's guide to ending entitlement, restoring pride in the emerging workforce. This book is how to develop people and build the work ethic in people who probably never learned how to work. I wrote a book 2015 that came out and won a number of awards, became a bestseller. It's called On Fire Work, how great companies ignite passion in their people without burning them out. This book was about culture. How do you become the place to work in your community that people go, hey, if I want to do that job, there's only one place to go. So I studied amazing companies. My latest book came out a little less than a year ago. It's called Fully Staffed, the definitive guide for finding and keeping great employees in the worst labor market ever. And of course, I wrote it before there was such a thing as a pandemic, but now it's even more appropriate because, as you mentioned offline, Matt, people are saying, I don't know if I want to go back to work. And restaurants are really struggling. I've had restaurant owners tell me, wait a second, all of a sudden, our state will say, okay, you can go from 50% to 100%. Now you can have 100% capacity. And we're not staffed to do that. How do we bring people on? That's what this book is all about. EricChester.com. That's my name, Eric Chester. Go to EricChester.com. You can buy the books. They're anywhere great books are sold. And yes, I do quite a bit of speaking still. Love to work with anybody that's interested.
Cool. Well, we're in the process of our new office building here. We're going to have a 2,500 square foot room that's called America's Best Restaurants University. It's our one restaurant brand. And starting in July, when it's done, every 2 weeks, we're going to fly different experts in to speak on topics to restaurant owners from around the country. So I look forward to getting you on that schedule sometime in the near future and having you in the ABR University and helping people understand how to, speak to the people correctly, how to hire the right people, and then how to, like you said, indoctrinate them into the brand.
Well, Matt, you've always been a leader in the restaurant segment, so I very much look forward to partnering with you. I appreciate the heck out of you having me on your show today.
I appreciate it, and have a great weekend. EricChester.com. Get the books. I've got 2 of the 3 on that bookshelf back there. Get them, read them, and put them in play for your business. Eric, we'll see you around. Have a great weekend.
Thanks so much. You do the same, Matt.
Thanks, sir.